I just watched the Criterion Channel for 24 hours straight, and it was a mistake.
Yesterday.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of When the Pictures Got Bigger. For the third time ever, we're bringing you a vlog today. Previously, my brother made 2 vlogs covering the TCM Classic Film Festival, and those were great, and I loved watching him make those. But I figured it was finally time for me, the other half of this YouTube channel, to make a vlog of my own. So I got to thinking, and one thing I love to do, just in general, like as a film fan, is to do these challenges, these ways of watching movies that aren't just the norm, you know? So sometimes it's watching a movie that starts with every letter of the alphabet. Another time that might be watching every Peter Pan movie ever made. But all throughout high school, I really enjoyed doing 24-hour movie marathons. You may have seen them on YouTube before. People like Razor Wire Reviews or Maple Street Movies have done really great 24-hour movie marathons. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it. Sometimes people do 24 hours of watching movies straight. I want to do an actual challenge of watching 24 hours of movies without interruptions straight. This isn't going to be easy, right? This is not going to be easy. Because like I said before, when people do 24-hour movie marathons, they tend to have these ways that they can space it out over 2 to 4 days, or they have 30-minute breaks between the movies, what have you. In the case of the Criterion 24/7 challenge, I'd be watching movies for 24 hours straight, and they're not, broken up by animated movies, comedies, things I've seen before. It could potentially be 6 Bergmans in a row, followed by 6 Tarkovsky movies, things that I might have to read subtitles for, movies that require a lot of thinking. And again, it's uninterrupted 24 hours straight. If I get tired, I lose. Because of the way this challenge is designed, I can't pause the movies, right? This is a cable channel. This is a non-stop 24/7 marathon. So I'm not gonna be able to pause and tell you my thoughts. I'm just gonna have to remember as much as I can, write down as much as I can, and then I'll get back to you, I guess, at the end of this with a big conclusion as well. So that's the aim of this video, is 24 hours straight of watching Criterion movies. I don't know if I can do it. I'm really excited, but I need to get some sleep. So I'll check back in right as we're about to begin the marathon at 11:50 tonight, let's say. I'll have dinner in hand and I'll have the first movie just about to begin. Wish me luck. This is the video. I watched Criterion for 24 hours straight. All right, it's 10 o'clock. I'm gonna start it a little bit earlier than I expected to tonight because, to be honest, I'm just really nervous and really excited. And I don't really see a point in sleeping because if I started earlier, I'll finish it earlier. And I'm very nervous. I think part of the problem is that throughout the day, I was looking at what was playing and I saw things like documentaries, which I didn't really know that they did on the Criterion 24/7, and things like Stalker, which I expected, and Stalker's a great movie, but it's kind of slow, right? I'm very nervous, but the next movie starts in 32 minutes. I think that's my first movie of the day. I'm praying it's something I haven't seen before. I want to save rewatches for later in the night because it's going to get really difficult. And I think a rewatch might liven my spirits, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I honestly have no idea what to expect. I know it's going to be hard. And I'd love an animated movie to break things up, but they don't really show animated movies on 24/7. So I'm thinking I'm going to have a lot of subtitles to read at 6 in the morning. It's going to be difficult, but I'm really excited. At this here, I figure I'll mark down the movies I watched throughout the night so I can remember what I've seen, because otherwise I think I'm going to forget. It's going to be a lot of movies. So yeah, it's going to be pretty good. I'm going to get some dinner, I guess, even though it's 10 o'clock, and we're going to start our first movie together in 30 minutes. All right, the first movie is about to begin. I'm nervous. I hope it's a good one. You can see how long it takes to recognize it for yourselves. Well, that doesn't tell us anything. Oh, British movie. The Seventh Veil? Is that what that says? All right, guess I'm watching The Seventh Veil. Never heard of this, but this could be good. All right, well, I'll check back in later and we'll see how it's going. Why? All right, it's over. Okay, the movie's over, the first movie's over, and I thought it was pretty good. It definitely had some similarities to some movies I really like. I don't know if it was a movie I would say I really liked. James Mason was really good. Ann Todd was really good. The script was really good. The classical music was good. But I don't have long to talk about each of them because we're gonna go right into the second movie. But my general thoughts are that they're good. It has a lot of similarities to Letter from an Unknown Woman. The montages were pretty good, but the ending of the movie I did not like at all. And I'll talk more about that when I offer my full thoughts. And right away we're in the second movie. I don't know what this is. I hope it's good. All right, we're 2 movies down. You know I don't have much time in between them now, but I'm feeling pretty good still. And I think those movies were really interesting to have back to back because they're both European movies about a doctor like psychoanalyzing a woman, or in the case of this movie, 3 women. And I think that's just really interesting because they're 40 years apart. One is directed by a man, one is directed by a woman, and they're very, very different in like their message and like the way that they portray it. I think it was really interesting. Obviously, like these are just my brief thoughts. I'm gonna talk a lot more about all these movies at the very end. I just don't have much time right now. But yeah, I'm getting kind of tired. It is like 1 a.m. I've been watching Criterion movies, going on 4 hours now. But can't really stop. We're just gonna move on to the third movie, which should be starting any second. Just want to point out real quick, so I don't forget it. The scenes that take place inside the boutique in this movie were so good. I want to figure out who the composer was because the score was really good. You might be hearing it a little bit right now, but the score was really good. The acting was phenomenal. I definitely preferred this movie to the first one, but they're really interesting to analyze side by side. All right, we're moving on to the third movie. Is it going to be American? Is it going to be long? Is it going to be short? New? Old? There's so much it could be. What is this? Sisters, Brian De Palma? I have not seen this. I've always wanted to. All right, cool. I think our third movie is going to be a Brian De Palma. Excited. All right, Sisters is over. It's like almost 2 in the morning. I'm getting really tired. Sisters was incredible, best yet. The fourth movie's already starting, but yeah, Sisters was so good. The Bernard Herrmann score was amazing, and Brian De Palma has yet to miss for me. I've seen like 6 of his movies. This is up there with The Untouchables. Is probably my favorite movie he's done. I think the first half was actually a little bit better than the second half. Maybe that's my only detractor for the movie. But yeah, the score was so good. The split screens were amazing. Brian De Palma is fantastic, and I really liked that. That was my favorite movie so far. But for now, I'm already in the middle of the fourth one, and yeah, there's no time to stop. So let's get on with it. Movie number 4.
In the shade here, wide open. No, I'm sorry. How much footage? I don't know. The footage count is busted on us. The footage count. How long is that shooting? I'm not out of film, but I'm not sure how much more I have. So I want to start with the fresh magazine. Right.
All right, this is actually really funny. The fourth movie is Symbio-Psycho-Taxiplasm, I think it's called. Obviously, I'm aware of this movie. It's like very well known as like one of the most avant-garde movies like ever made. It's American and it's very like Andy Warhol-esque, I guess. I mean, I haven't seen it; it just started, but the way that I understand it is there are 2 separate movies that they made. The first one is the one that's airing right now, and then they made a follow-up called Symbio-Psycho-Taxiplasm 2.5. And I'm very curious to see if 2.5 is gonna play after this, or if I'm only gonna watch the first one. But right now I'm in that really weird extended sequence. It's like a split screen, and the couple is breaking up over and over. It's an interesting movie, and I'm probably gonna have a lot of opinions on it. But yeah, I mean, like if there was ever time to watch this movie, why not at 2 in the morning after I just watched 3 prior Criterion movies? This is very tiring. It's very interesting. I'm getting really tired. If this does end up having part 1 and part 2, then I'm going to be watching Symbio-Psycho-Taxiplasm for like 2 hours, 45 minutes or something, I think it is. And that's fine. It's going to take me up until 4:30 or something. And that's fine. But yeah, it's starting to catch up to me, guys. I'm starting to get pretty tired. Hanging in there. I still have 20 hours to go. And that's another wrap. Just finished Symbio-Psycho-Taxiplasm. I don't really know how I felt about it. I liked it, I guess, but I don't know. It definitely wasn't optimal viewing conditions. That is not the kind of movie to watch in a 24-hour movie marathon. No way. And it was good, but I definitely need to sit on it for a bit. The credits are rolling right now, and then we'll see what movie number 5 is. I still have like 19 hours to go, and I'm really tired. But, you know, gotta keep going. I just really hope that part 2 isn't next, because apparently, so this one was like only 80 minutes, you know, it was really short, but Symbio-Psycho-Taxiplasm part 2 is like 2 hours. So I definitely don't want to sit through that right now. And I heard it's worse too, so, but who knows? They might just play the sequel right after. Anyway, we'll see in a minute what it is. I'm gonna try to move to a new location because I've watched 3 movies in a row there, and I'm getting really, really tired of sitting there. So I'm gonna move to a new location. It's still about 4 in the morning, I think, and we'll see what movie number 5 is. I just missed the title card. Film number 5 is Sans Soleil. I'm really, really excited. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name of the movie, but this is actually my first rewatch of the marathon. I really like this movie. It's like basically a travelogue, super great, by the guy who made Lodge T, if you've seen that. And this is a really, really good movie. So it is a little bit of the same style, same kind of slow pace as the last one I just watched, but it's really good. So I'm excited.
Rich and hurried Japanese take the plane, others take the ferry. I'm leaving you a rather melancholy picture, but in the depths of my heart, I'm happy.
It's 5 in the morning, and I just finished Sans Soleil, which I think is my 5th movie of the marathon. And yeah, that was really good. I've seen that movie probably like 3 times now, and I don't know, like it's not the kind of movie I normally really like. You know, I don't really like movies that are just like poetry instead of like a plot. You know, something that you might see like in a museum. But Sans Soleil is just really, really special. It was just a really interesting experience tonight, though, watching that movie, you know, with the lights all off, it being really hard to stay awake, but like at the same time, I was super engrossed, you know, and I'm really, really tired, but like that almost made it more special because the movie went on for hours and hours and hours in my head because it took me a while to like catch up to the words that were being said and the images that were being shown. And so I had to go slow with it, you know, focus on what I was hearing and stuff. And it just made everything go by so much slower. It felt like I was watching that movie for hours in like the dark of night. Oh, like nobody's awake. It's literally 5 in the morning. And I was watching a movie like that. And I really liked it. I really hope there's more rewatches coming up in the marathon because I think it really helps me to like reappreciate and re-see something that I've already seen before. New watches are great too, but you know, this was my favorite movie so far. Now, it's only 5 a.m., so we still have about 17 hours, I think, to go in the marathon, which is crazy because I'm already so exhausted. I think I'm just so exhausted because the movies that we've watched so far are very like subtitle heavy or like they have less of a plot and they're just more meandering. Like really the only one that had like a plot, I guess, is Sisters. See, I can barely remember the names. I mean, I guess, no, I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating, but Sisters was like the most Hollywood, I guess, you know. I'm really having a lot of fun, to be honest. Like I'm exhausted, but that kind of makes the movies better in a way. Yeah, like some of them are like less optimal viewing experiences, but I think that watching Sans Soleil, like being like with food or like fully awake, it wouldn't have been as meaningful as it was just now. It's 5 in the morning, and I will show you guys what it is in a sec. And just hanging in there. I'm in my bedroom now. This is my 3rd location so far. And I'll probably keep moving because I know that that's going to help me to stay awake. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. And let's keep it going. All right, here we go. Film number 6. I'm going to try to predict this one. I think it's going to be an Asian movie just because there hasn't been any of those yet. Maybe a Japanese horror movie. That would be my guess. Okay. Yep. Well, all right. So it's a Taiwanese film. I hope it's not Yi Yi, just because that's so long. I've seen a couple Edward Yang movies. Oh. Yeah, I've seen this one. This is 4 hours. Okay, here's the thing. I'm just going to say this real quick. This is a great movie. This is an incredible movie. I own it on Criterion, like on the Blu-ray. But it's 4 hours long, and I'm so exhausted right now. Who watches, you know, A Brighter Summer Day, 4-hour-long Edward Yang movie in the middle of a 24-hour movie marathon? Even when this is done, I'm still going to have many hours to go. So, wish me luck. I'm like 30 minutes into this now, and I'm actually getting pretty excited. Like, I know I was tired, but this is kind of waking me up because I do like this movie a lot. I've seen it twice, and I have it on Blu-ray. And, you know, I'm really excited for the Elvis scenes, just where the kids sing Elvis. That's like one of my favorite parts. But I was just thinking how funny it was that when I saw Edward Yang on the screen, I was like, please don't be Yi Yi. I don't want to watch a 3-hour movie right now. And I got my wish. It wasn't Yi Yi. It was a 4-hour movie, Brighter Summer Day. But yeah, this is good. This will get me all the way to, what, 9 in the morning? So then I'll only have like 12 hours left after that. So a good little kick to the end off the first half. It's 9 a.m. here, and I'm realizing I haven't updated anything since like 6. And yeah, so but A Brighter Summer Day is almost over. It's still going on. It's a long movie, and I'm really hoping there's not another 4-hour movie in this marathon. But you know, on one hand, I'm kind of okay with this movie because, like I mentioned before, I think I mentioned this, I don't even remember, like, it was kind of fine to have, you know, 6 hours in a row of movies I've seen before, because the first 6 hours of the marathon was like my mind was turned on and my body was turned off. You know, I was trying to pay attention to the movies. They're all new to me, the first 4. And so I just like wasn't moving, and I was getting really tired that way. But then the last 2, starting with Sans Soleil and now with A Brighter Summer Day, they've both been rewatches for me. So I've been able to switch things up, switch up my routine, and like move around, and I was able to shave, you know, as Brighter Summer Day was going on, and just like turn off my brain a bit. But I'm still very tired, of course, and there's over 12 hours left, so I can't get too excited. I think there's like 13 hours left, really, which could be anywhere, I guess, from, you know, 6 to 10 movies. Summer Day just finished. That would have been a perfect ending to the marathon, but as you know, we still have over half of it to go. Already the 7th movie is starting. A Toho release, it says. It could be Godzilla. That would be a decent palate cleanser. The Face of Another. Okay. I guess this is probably like a sci-fi movie. I've never heard of it though. If I'm excited for this, I guess I am. Yeah. This is quite the odd marathon. Alright, the 7th movie is The Face of Another, which I've actually heard of, but I've never seen. It's like a Japanese sci-fi / horror movie about a guy who has to get a new face transplanted. So I guess this is a pretty good follow-up to Brighter Summer Day. It's obviously shorter, and hopefully it's gonna be a little bit more exciting. I guess it's got a bit of sisters to it too, you know? Surgery, and I'm guessing an immoral character or 2. But yeah, anyway, Face of Another, movie number 7. I'm about 20 minutes into The Face of Another, and the main character just got the face of another. And I really like this so far. I mean, this scene right here reminds me a bit of M, the Fritz Lang movie. This is really good. I like A Brighter Summer Day, but I'm probably not gonna rank it too highly just because it was not the movie I wanted right now, you know? 4 hours long, and yeah, there's violence and there's a plot, but it definitely takes a while to get there. This, on the other hand, we're 20 minutes in and already a lot has happened. The protagonist is super active, he's super bitter, and he's just, he's fun to watch, you know? And I really like it, you know? The great thing about Criterion is that you're not really watching a bad movie, ever, right? Like, even the ones here that I haven't loved as much, they still have some merit. So, while this marathon is really difficult because I can't pick the movies I'm watching and there's gonna be some hard watches, at the same time, everything is a great movie. So I'm still doing okay. I think I can hold out for another 12 hours. But just gotta get over this hump, and so far this is a pretty good hump. All right, I guess that's the end of The Face of Another, the 7th movie of the marathon. I really like that one too. I think there's been a lot of great movies in the marathon so far, but that was, at least in the top half, I think. There was some really good imagery. You know, your mileage may vary for how much you appreciate the themes of it, but I really liked the imagery and I really liked the way that was filmed. And in terms of like being tired, I don't feel too tired right now. I think the sun coming up helped with a lot of that. And the 8th movie's already starting, so just continue on with marathon, and I'll give more in-depth thoughts on each movie later. All right, so the 8th movie is Keeping Time, which is only 30 minutes, and it's from last year. So that's good, I guess. A nice change of pace. Keeping Time is already over. It was really quick, only 30 minutes long. It didn't have much substance to it, but I thought it was really stylish and it had some good like sound mixing. So it's just like a nice little documentary if you have 30 minutes to kill and want to learn more about this one specific jazz group in LA. All right, so I guess this is a double bill because we just had a jazz documentary, now we have a blues documentary. It's also 30 minutes long. All right, guess we're watching this, The Blues According to Lightning Hopkins. Thanks. All right, it's been about an hour since my last update. I feel like I'm looking kind of tired, but I'm honestly doing okay. I've moved yet again to try to get the blood flowing. And I did an update after the 9th movie, I think it was, which was the World of Blues According to Lightning Hopkins, I think it was. Is that what it was? Blues According to Lightning Hopkins. That was good. Okay, like I like Le Blanc documentaries. He does a lot of documentaries on Louisiana, and I've seen 2 of them before. And this is just like all of his other movies. Like, it's not even really about blues. It's not even really about Lightning Hopkins. It's just sort of a backdrop to show Louisiana and to like show a rodeo and to show the people, you know. So I like that one a lot better than the LA documentary. And then I was like, okay, fine. You know, we did a nice little double bill of 2 documentaries on music. And then lo and behold, the next movie starts. I didn't even update this yet, but the 10th movie is Louie Bluey, which is another documentary on a blues musician. And this one's an hour long. So it's 3 straight documentaries on music. And look, I like music documentaries sometimes, you know, but to have 3 in a row is kind of an interesting triple bill in the middle of the day here. But anyway, Louie Bluey has like 45 minutes left. And then we'll move on to film number 11, which I'm praying is not a 4th music documentary. If it is, then, you know, I might start getting really tired. But I'm still moving, and I'm still enjoying the challenge. And that's a wrap on number 10. All right, 10 movies are done. The 11th will start soon. Still feeling great, I guess. I'm just moving around a lot, like I'm in a new spot yet again, so I don't get too tired. But yeah, 11 movies, that's crazy. I'm gonna watch my 11th movie in a sec, and I still got, I think, I don't even know what time it is right now, 1 o'clock? So I've got like 9 hours left. So yeah, might end up being like 15 movies today. That would be crazy if they're all like an hour and a half from here on out. So yeah, really enjoying it so far. In a perfect world, I want like a Hollywood, like classic Hollywood movie, something from like the 40s would be really good. So anyway, we'll see if I get what I want, or if it's another music documentary in just a moment. Are you kidding me? It's another jazz documentary. We did jazz, blues, jazz. Oh my gosh. This isn't even like 24 hours of Criterion anymore. It's like 24 hours of music theory in college. Nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna learn more about jazz, guys. What I will say is that with 4 documentaries on music in a row, you can definitely like compare and contrast them in an interesting way. And like, I'm all for double features, triple features, quadruple features even. It's just that like, music documentaries are not what I would typically go for, you know? And there's definitely somebody out there who would really like these 4 movies in a row. Hopefully it just stays at 4 and there's not a 5th in a row. But yeah, I'm really ready for something narrative. I'm a little behind on an update, but I'm on movie number 12 now. It is not the 5th music documentary in the row. It is Le Havre, I think it's pronounced. And it's a French production, but it's from a Finnish director named Aki Kaurismäki, something like that. And I've always heard of him, but I've actually never seen any of his movies. He has one called Fallen Leaves, which is pretty well known. Another one that's like The Matchstick Girl, I think. But yeah, he's pretty well known, and he makes like sort of lighthearted movies, I think. Sort of like just like feel good movies. And I'm really excited to watch this actually. We're like 10 minutes in. But yeah, forgot to update it. I think The Cry of Jazz was in some ways the best of the 4, in some ways the worst of the 4 jazz documentaries, but altogether I'm happy to be through those 3 hours, and it was interesting. All right, I'll get back to watching this movie, but that's where we're at right now. Le Havre is now done, the 12th movie. I think that one was maybe on the lower half of the movies that I've seen so far. It was definitely like good, it was fine. It had some really like sweet moments, but it was kind of just a standard drama, you know. You could tell where it was going from the very beginning. Nothing really special in the way of the filmmaking stood out. But I would see other films by the director. I think that his stories are kind of like almost like fairy tales. It's getting kind of hard to keep watching movies at this rate. I feel like I'm finally getting the sleep deprivation catching up to me. but still have at least 3 more to go probably, so gotta stick with it. And we'll see what the next movie is in just a second. Lucky number 13. Judging by the Criterion Channel's website, it might be La Haine, which wouldn't be my top choice right now because I know that's a violent movie and gritty. Probably not the best thing for right now. Or maybe it is, who knows. But if that's the case, then we'll see in a second. Yeah, I think that's La Haine. Alright, well, that's the 13th movie. I hope it's good. Like a third of the way through La Haine, and this is actually a lot better than I expected it to be. I was thinking it would be very like dark and depressing almost, but so far it's pretty good. I like the way that's shot. I like the way that they're using like the time of the day as a recurring motif. And also I just wanted to point out that it is like pouring rain here, and it's starting to get dark. So I've been watching movies for almost a day now. Gone through multiple weather cycles, so that's kind of cool. All right, La Haine just finished. The 14th movie's about to start. La Haine's definitely the kind of movie that you should sit on for a while after you finish it, and you shouldn't rush right into another movie, but unfortunately I don't have a choice in the matter. So yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a bit, and like I said, at the end of the video I'll do a wrap up and I'll talk more about it then. But for now, the 14th movie's beginning. Hopefully it's something a little lighter. Oh yeah, Romer, okay. 6 Moral Tales, number 4. All right, I haven't seen any of these. I hope I don't need to see them in order, but all right. Guess we're watching 6 Moral Tales now. I also wanted to personally check in because I don't think I've like checked in myself in a while. But it's now 5:30, so I've been doing this for about 20 hours. And you know, after watching 20 hours of movies, 14 movies in a row, doing nothing else, you would think I'd be feeling a lot more tired than I am. But I honestly feel fine. And I think it's because of like the nature of this marathon, the Criterion 24/7, is that there's so much excitement because I don't know what's coming up next, right? Like if I had picked out every movie myself, then I would know like, okay, after I finish La Haine, I'm gonna be watching, you know, the 6 Moral Tales. This one's called The Collector, I think. And I might get like bored, you know, like I might think, oh, after Sound Soleil, I'm gonna watch A Brighter Summer Day, right? And I might be thinking like, oh, I'm dreading that. There's excitement in not knowing what's about to come next. Like as soon as I get to the end of a movie, I'm all of a sudden like rejuvenated because I'm like, oh, what's gonna be next? Like, is it something I like? Is it something I'm gonna hate? Is it my next future favorite movie of all time? You know? But I'm tired. But also the other thing that's cool about this marathon is that nobody here, I would bet anybody watching this video, has seen all 14 of the movies that I've seen so far. Like these are some really obscure movies mixed in with some really well-known movies. And I think that's just really fun too. You know, I'm getting to watch movies that I never would have picked on my own. So I think that's why I'm holding up so okay right now. This is just a really fun marathon. And there's probably just 2 movies left after this. We'll see how those go. Okay, so La Collectioneuse, however you say that word. The Collector, that ended just now. And I don't really know my thoughts on it yet. I had to think about it a bit. It definitely was slow. But this is the 15th movie. It could potentially be the last, judging by how long it is. Looks like it's another foreign film. And if it's not the last, then it's the second to last, the penultimate movie. Because it's only 7 o'clock now, and it's been 21 hours. So I just need 3 more hours left to complete the 24-hour marathon. It's a French movie again. The 4th straight French movie. So, you know, Criterion really likes to do their like scheduled programming. Because they did 4 music documentaries in a row, and now 4 French movies. Looks like we're watching, oh, another Eric Romer movie. Okay, that's nice. All right, well, I will get to it then. All right, so this one's called The Green Ray, and it's gonna go until 8:20, which means I will have to do one more after that, regardless, I guess, of how long it's gonna be. So it's gonna be 16 movies in this marathon, and this is our 4th straight French movie. So judging by the rule of 4s that they've been doing all along, next one should be something completely different to end off the marathon. So I'll check back in and let you know how The Green Ray is in an hour. Okay, The Green Ray just finished, which means we only have one more movie left in the 24-hour Criterion Marathon. And The Green Ray was a lot better than La Collectioneuse. I'm still working on pronouncing it. But yeah, I think between the 2 Romer films, definitely The Green Ray was the better of the 2. I thought that was really well done, and I liked a lot of the... I just liked the characters. I think that was the problem I had with this film, is I didn't like the characters as much, but The Green Ray, I really liked the main woman, and I thought she did a good job. But hopefully the 16th movie is not a French movie. I'd like to get away to a different part of the world and I'll let you know in a minute what it is. Movie number 16, the last one of the marathon. It's gonna be Unknown Pleasures. I just watched the Criterion Channel for 24 hours straight, and it was a mistake. It got really hard near the end, I'm not gonna lie. If I were to do a Criterion marathon again for 24 hours straight, I wouldn't do the Criterion 24/7 because it gives you no time between the movies. Like, any movie marathon that you watch on YouTube for somebody watching movies for 24 hours straight, they're not watching 16 movies. Like, at most, they're doing 12, and they have like 30-minute breaks between each. But it got really difficult to like watch a 4-hour movie in the case of Brighter Summer Day, and then immediately go into another 2-hour Japanese movie. And then the same thing with like the French movies. I'd be watching an entire 2-hour long French movie, immediately go to another, and then another, and then another. And I mean, I was reading subtitles for, I don't even know how many of the 16 movies. At least half of them, I would say, were foreign films. It was just really tough. Like, I couldn't pick anything. I couldn't have any say in what we were gonna watch. And while I did discover movies that I never would have picked on otherwise, I don't think that if you're going to go to the Criterion 24/7, you shouldn't do a marathon for 24 hours. Like, you shouldn't actually watch it for 24/7, right? Like, I think that it's great to like pick up if you only have 30 minutes and you want to catch like the tail end of a movie or, you know, the middle end of a movie, right? But other than that, like, it was exhausting. I'm very tired. Like I said, I think it was kind of a mistake to do this challenge, but I love doing 24-hour movie marathons. I'm always going to do them. They're so much fun, especially when you look back at the end of it and you can like lay in bed after watching 16 movies in this case, and then tomorrow when I wake up, I'll have all these thoughts and I'll be like, well, that one was amazing. Or in some cases, I'll be like, that one was terrible. That was like the worst one. I'm going to sit on it, like I said, and then I'm going to make a tier list talking about all 16 movies, ranking them from best to worst.
Eventually.
Okay, it has officially been 2 days since the last clip. I really needed that time to catch up on the sleep because after the marathon ended, the exhaustion hit me all at once, and I had to really catch up on sleep over 2 days. But it gave me enough time to sit on the movies, and I can really accurately voice my opinions on them now. And I don't want to waste much time, so let's get straight into it because this video is already kind of long. So let's start with The Seventh Veil. That was the first movie in the marathon. That one's going to go straight to the B tier. I think that the movie was really good for what it was, especially in the 1940s. This ended up being the earliest movie out of them all. And I like James Mason in it. I thought he was really good. I just watched him in The Last of Sheila a couple days prior to that, and he was amazing in that. So 30 years apart, and he still has 2 incredible performances in him. Everybody watched The Last of Sheila. The Seventh Veil, I think you can skip. Honestly, the biggest issue with this movie was just the ending, because the entire film, you're psychoanalyzing this woman, right? Like, we have a psychiatrist who's psychoanalyzing her, and we see her life story. We see the men that she's, met and stuck with throughout her life. And there are 2 viable options for her, but in the end of the movie, it just becomes who will she choose? And let's just say, without spoiling it, that I think the movie completely dropped the ball on the end, and it just ruined everything it set up to that point. So that was one of the worst endings I've seen in very many movies ever. Anyway, Seventh Veil was fine. There were some good montages, and like I said, James Mason was really good. But other than that, I wouldn't really recommend that movie. Then we watched A Question of Silence, and that's going to go in the A tier. I think that this was a really interesting double bill with The Seventh Veil, because they're both about women, or in this case, just one woman, who are being psychoanalyzed, right? So in A Question of Silence, you have these 3 ladies here who commit a murder of a dress shopkeeper, with really no rhyme or reason to do it. It's not premeditated, right? It's completely impulsive, and these ladies don't even know each other, but they just kill a dress shopkeeper. And throughout the movie, we have this woman here. She's the psychiatrist who's trying to decide if they're sane or if they're insane. And it's a really interesting comparison to The Seventh Veil because they're made 40 years apart. This one's in the 40s, this one's in the 80s. This is a Dutch movie directed by a woman, and this is a British movie directed by a man. And they have very interesting, they're both feminist movies, I would say, but they have very, very differing levels of feminism, I would say. Like, this is decidedly a feminist movie. Like, this is completely pro-women. And then I think this one just drops the ball in the end, and it doesn't really know what it's saying. But A Question of Silence, at times it can be a little bit hard to watch, I guess. I think the biggest issue is because, honestly, like, yeah, the men in this movie are all pretty horrible, but to see the shopkeeper, who wasn't like completely awful, especially compared to some of the other men, just get murdered for no reason in a brutal fashion, is sometimes a little hard to watch. But I do think those are actually the best scenes in the movie, because they are completely free of dialogue, and it's just the score is doing all the heavy lifting, and the score is really, really good in this movie. Overall, I would say Question of Silence is a hidden gem. I think you should watch it, especially if you want to watch a feminist movie and a movie from a female director. This was very memorable. I'm going to remember this movie for a while, especially for that score and for the performances. And the ending was really good, too, with the courtroom. So I would say Question of Silence was one of the better movies. Sisters was better than that, even though. Sisters is going to go up to the S tier. I've seen like 6 Brian De Palma movies, but I haven't seen very many of his Hitchcockian thrillers, which is exactly what this was. And it was so good for that, right? Like, I think that Brian De Palma, there's so many directors who have done Hitchcock, right? So many directors who like to emulate Hitchcock. Brian De Palma always includes like a dark, like, comedy sense to his movies. So in the case of this one, the whole reason this movie begins is because they're on a game show called Peeping Tom. And it's just a really interesting opening. And then the closing shot of this movie is very funny too, involving the detective. So this movie made me laugh at times. It also was extremely tense at times. And Brian De Palma uses his signature split screens to like the greatest effect ever, when you have the Staten Island reporter across the street, and we're following her on one side of the split screen, and then we have the murder taking place on the apartment on the opposite side of the street in the other side of the split screen, if that makes sense. So anyway, the split screens were really good in this movie. Brian De Palma knows what he's doing with thrillers, and I need to see more of his Body Double and Blowout and those kind of movies. Sisters was followed up by Symbiocytotoxiplasm, and this one's going to go to C tier. I think there's definitely an audience. This was definitely an interesting movie. 1968 New York, which I believe this was 1968 or 1967. That's one of the most interesting times to look at in American history, I would say, because you have a lot of interesting discussions about like Vietnam and about politics in general, and the civil rights movement. So there were some very interesting discussions to be had, and I think that the discussions that we do get were memorable, specifically the homeless man at the end offering his opinions on everything, and over the course of the conversation, it devolves into the homeless man being a little bit like raunchier than you'd expect. So I don't know. It was memorable. I think that this is the kind of movie that some people really enjoy. If you like Andy Warhol, if you like Jean-Luc Godard, it's a little more experimental than I'm a fan of. I like movies with a plot. Clearly, I would say that this tier list is from least plot to most plot. So I like movies with a plot, but I do respect Symbiocytotoxiplasm. I think it has a very interesting story. Martin Greaves, I believe, is the name of the director, and apparently he thought this was a masterpiece, and he went to Cannes with it because he thought it was going to get selected to compete. But the projectionist there screened it out of order, and then the jury said that they didn't want the movie shown. And he went back to New York. He put it in a closet. He's like, this is not the masterpiece I thought it was, so forget about it. This is my worst movie. Then, lo and behold, 30, 40 years later, whatever, there's a museum exhibit about him, right? It's about his movies. And the curator says, I've seen all your movies. I want to see, do you have anything else that you've never released before? Yeah, so I'm just curious if there's something that I haven't seen that you've done. And he's like, well, I've got this one thing in the closet, but, it's my worst work, so it's not really worth showing. And she's just like, well, let me just see it. I'm just curious, And she says it's his masterpiece, and it probably ultimately is his masterpiece. Out of all the movies that he's made, this is the one that has stood the test of time the most. And she ended up making this the opening night showing at his exhibition. So anyway, that's kind of a cool story. And this movie was fine for what it was, but maybe it wasn't the best viewing conditions. And that was followed up by Sans Soleil, which is going to go straight to the top of S. This is probably going to stay there. I think this was the best movie I watched. And it's a movie I've seen 3 times now. One of my favorite movies, maybe ever. I think it's just so perfect for what it is. It's just a travelogue, mostly focused on Japan and Africa, but also with a little bit in Iceland and San Francisco. And this movie is just worth it for somebody who wants to watch things that you're not going to see in anything else, right? Like, you're going to see people's faces who are so far removed from society, Western society, like the very far outreaches of the world, in the case of Iceland and in the case of some of the parts of Africa that he's filming. And I think that Chris Marker makes really poetic statements on life and his musings on the world. And I think that he is brilliant. I think that some of the stuff that he has to say will really stick with you, So it's not just like an average American voicing their opinions. It's somebody who really has a voice for poetry. And if you're looking for a movie that is very unlike any other movie that you're ever going to watch, just a travelogue with some really great poetry and some really great shots, then you should watch it. I don't think it's nearly as pretentious as it sounds. I think it's a lot more accessible than you think, and I really highly recommend Sans Soleil. That was followed up by A Brighter Summer Day, which a lot of people list as one of the greatest movies ever made, one of the greatest Asian movies ever made too. But I think I'm just going to keep it in the A tier. I'll put it at the top of A tier because I really like it, and for a 4-hour epic, it doesn't feel like it's 4 hours, even though it's got a lot of static shots. But it really flies by. It just wasn't the optimal viewing conditions this time around. I've seen it before, and I liked it more the past couple times I saw it. But this time, at 5 a.m, it was just really difficult to sit through. And I think it says some really interesting things about Taiwanese culture. You know, the movie essentially follows like these two gangs, and they represent like the two subsections of Taiwanese culture at the time, which is the people who came from mainland China and then the people who were born in Taiwan. And it's interesting to look at the gangs of school children as like a microcosm for society. There's actually a lot of similarities between Brighter Summer Day and Unknown Pleasures, which we'll get to at the very end. So I would just say it's a really good movie. I think you can learn a lot from it. I think the scenes involving the kids singing Elvis are still my favorite part. It's a movie that I will have to rewatch again because I think I don't like it as much as I probably should. But it is really good, and it's one of the most well-made movies that I watched in the entire marathon, no doubt. Probably the most well-made movie that I watched in the entire marathon. After A Brighter Summer Day, we watched The Eyes of Another, and this one was really good too. Or is this called The Face of Another? I can't even remember. I think it was The Eyes of Another. This one's going to go in the A tier also. I'll put it between these two. And I think this movie has some really great imagery. That's what's going to stick with me from it. There is a shot near the end of all these people walking through the Japanese street, and all their faces are like scratched out, like they're all faceless people. And I thought that was a really interesting shot. And there's also like other things where they like draw a parallel between the main man like screaming out the window, and then all of a sudden it cuts to like a pig on a meat hook. So I guess it's trying to draw a parallel between those two images. So anyway, there's just a lot of great imagery, a lot of great sets. I think that the message in the movie is that everybody dreams, I guess, of having like another life, another chance to start over, to be someone that you're not. But what would happen if you got a chance to be someone that you're not, and that ends up being like the worst parts of yourself? You know, that takes over the worst parts of yourself, and you were better off before. That's sort of what I'm getting out of this movie. I think your mileage may vary on how much you enjoy it, because the themes are not for everyone. But I really liked it a lot. And I thought that as far as like Japanese horror goes, which I guess you could call this horror, maybe just sci-fi, is one of the better ones I've seen. So I would really recommend that movie a lot. This was the worst part of the marathon. The next 4 were the music documentaries, and I'll do them all at once because they are all pretty similar. But I would say Keeping Time goes into C. Maybe Louis Bluey is C. Blues According to Lightning Hopkins can go in B. And The Cry of Jazz will be the only D, maybe, of the whole marathon. These movies were really, really difficult to watch in succession for 3 hours straight. I think I would have enjoyed The Blues According to Lightning Hopkins or Louis Bluey more if I had watched them in isolation. But the fact that I was watching them in the middle of this marathon just made it really, really challenging to sit through. Keeping Time wasn't great. That was the first one. It was just very, like, I don't know, low stakes, I guess I would say. It's a 30-minute documentary about this one specific jazz group in Los Angeles in 2023. So who's that going to appeal to, really, besides the people who are part of that community or who know somebody who's part of that community? It didn't really appeal to me. I liked some of the different types of footage they used, and I thought the editing was good and the sound design was good, but it is not going to stick with me at all. The Blues According to Lightning Hopkins will stick with me a little bit more just because it's a Le Blanc movie, and he's a great filmmaker. He's a great documentary filmmaker from Louisiana. But even compared to the other movies I've seen by him, I don't know if this was anything that special. Lightning Hopkins, I guess, was an interesting figure. Same thing with Louis Bluey. And I liked how both of these movies focus on one person, one musician, but then they also show other things about like culture. Specifically, Lightning Hopkins, this movie has some really great shots of Louisiana culture. And just, I liked it, I guess. That's all I would say, really. I guess they were both all right. Both are good directors. This guy did Crumb, another Criterion movie. And then The Cry of Jazz was like the worst movie in the marathon. I don't even know why they would include this in Criterion. It felt like one of those movies that you watch in school, or like if you've seen The Simpsons, it's sort of the movie that Troy McClure would be a part of.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such medical films as Alice Doesn't Live Anymore.
Definitely the kind of thing that a teacher would throw on in school, and you wouldn't remember anything about it. It follows 4 white people and 3 black people, and they're sitting around at a party talking about the history of jazz and talking about if it's an African-American art or if it can be enjoyed by everybody. And they talk about if jazz is dead, and the dialogue gets really hokey. There's parts where like the white characters are like, oh, fee, fi, fo, fum, like they're just getting upset. And I don't know. It was just really hokey and stupid. But I don't know. Maybe if it was the first one of the 4, I would have liked it more because it actually was the most like a history of jazz documentary. Whereas this was like all 3 of these were really focused on one person or one group. So maybe I would have liked it more if it was the first of the 4, but I'm never really going to think about that movie, to be honest. All right, then next up was Le Havre. This was the first of 4 French movies, another sort of quadrilogy of movies. And this was maybe the worst of those 4. I guess I'll put it in B tier. I didn't really like it. It was, like, I'll tell you the plot, and you're going to say, oh, I've heard this before, right? It's about an African immigrant. He's a runaway, and then it's about an old shoe shiner whose wife is in the hospital, and he has a void to fill, and lo and behold, this boy comes into his life, and together they strike up a friendship, an unlikely friendship. It was good. It got very saccharine at the end, super oversweet, but I don't know. I think that worked for what this was. I would watch more movies by Aki Kaurismäki, the Finnish director. You know I'm really terrible at pronunciations, but I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I think that he's a great filmmaker. I think that the cinematography in this movie was good. Some scenes, I guess, will stick with me, but not really even. I just think it was kind of average. La Haine, on the other hand, when this movie first came up, I was groaning because I know it can be... I know a lot about the reputation of this movie. It's about these 3 guys, a Jew, an Arab, and a black person living in France. And they all are like on the margins of society. They exist within gangs and, they're all about violence. And the one on the left here has a gun, and he wants to kill a cop. Like that's his whole motivation in life, is to kill a cop. So I went into this thinking it's going to be kind of a hard movie to watch. It could be kind of hateful. And I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to watch. But it actually ended up being one of my favorites in the marathon. I think I'll put it beneath Sisters, but at the very top in the S tier. It was just... The reason this movie works so well is that throughout the movie, you have this recurring motif of like the time of day it is. And there's like a ticking time bomb sound associated with that. Every time they show you what time it is, there's like a ticking time bomb in the background. So just there's a lot of tension throughout the movie because we know something's going to happen by the end of this film, by the end of this day. We know that something crazy is about to go down, but we don't know what. And I think that's just what really kept me captivated, is wanting to find out what was going to happen. Potentially, if I'm watching this movie in a rewatch situation, I don't know if it's going to appeal to me quite as much because I know what's going to happen and I know that a lot of the scenes that we're watching are mundane, really for no reason. But on a first watch, I really liked it. The ending was very powerful, like I was expecting it to be throughout the entire movie. And I think you should watch it. I think it's only 90 minutes, and the ending is definitely special, especially if you haven't seen it before and you don't know what you're in for. Yeah, it's good. So La Haine is an S tier movie. Then we got into 2 Romer movies, and this was a fun little double bill as well. One of my favorite double billings in the marathon, because I really like European directors who use European actors as like mouthpieces for them to just talk about plays or literature or nature or whatever. So, think Bergman movies, think Romer movies, I guess. And these were my first 2 movies by him. They're very different. One is about these 2 guys who are both pining for a woman who has a lot of guys in her life, but she's not interested in either of them, and they can't figure out why, and they're kind of misogynistic. And then this one is about a woman, and she's just depressed, and that's all it is. That's all there really is to it, is that she's looking for meaning in her life. And it's not like there was some crazy event that happened. Like, yeah, she broke up with her fiance, but it's not like she had a crazy tragedy strike her, and that's why she's depressed. No, she's just an average person who's just alone and feeling lonely. And you just watch her be sad, But I really liked The Green Ray. Let's just talk about where I'm going to rank them. So The Collector would go in top of B, I'll say. It was good, but it wasn't great. The Green Ray was great. The Green Ray might be my second favorite in the marathon. This was a movie I never would have watched on its own, maybe. I just thought some of the dialogue was very captivating. For instance, like they're at a dinner and the main woman is a vegetarian and she's trying to explain to a bunch of people who are eating meat in front of her why she's a vegetarian. Then there's another scene later on where she's at the beach and there's a group of older French people. They're all reading the Jules Verne book, The Green Ray, which is what this is named for. And they're just discussing like what they think of the book. I just think it's a really meta conversation that I liked a lot. I don't know. I just thought the dialogue was really good. This has a very improvisational feel. Both of these movies have a very improvisational feel.
So it's going to depend on whether you like the characters and whether you're willing to listen to, in this case, two misogynistic men talk about how great they are, or in this case, listen to a depressed woman talk about how she's searching for meaning in her life. And I think, for me personally, I preferred the latter of the two, the Green Ray, significantly more. But I do think Romer is a great director, and I want to see more of his movies now after watching these two. And then last but not least, the last movie in the marathon was Unknown Pleasures. This one I'll put in B tier also, maybe near the end of B tier. Like I said earlier, it's got a lot of similarities to Brighter Summer Day. In this case, it's also about youth. In this one, they're living in China, and it takes place during the time of the Chinese one-child policy. So all the kids in this movie are only children, so they don't have any siblings. And they're also like drifters, just like the Taiwanese children in the Brighter Summer Day. They're drifters, and they have a lot of connections to Western culture. So in here, you have the kids listening to Elvis, and here you have them watching Pulp Fiction, right? So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two. Production of A Brighter Summer Day is a lot better. Unknown Pleasures was shot and conceived in like a month total, and the lighting isn't the best, the cinematography isn't the best, the acting isn't anything special. But I think it was a good movie for what it was. I never would have watched it if not for this marathon, and I haven't seen too many Chinese movies, to be honest. So it was interesting for what it was. I think if you have a choice between the two of them, I would go with The Brighter Summer Day, but it was better than these four, right? So anyway, that was the 16 movies I watched as part of this Criterion 24/7 challenge. It was incredibly difficult, as I've alluded to throughout the video. I wouldn't do it again. I love watching movies in unique ways in marathon settings, but I wouldn't watch 16 random Criterion curated movies again, just because there's no say in it, right? So I couldn't, if I wanted to watch another movie by Romer, I couldn't, because I had to sit through whatever was coming next, which was Unknown Pleasures. Or if I wanted to watch another Japanese sci-fi movie by this director, I couldn't, because then I had four music documentaries coming up. And so you just don't have a say in it, which made it a little bit challenging for me, especially when I was getting really tired throughout the day. But I think if you have the Criterion Channel, you might as well throw on 24/7 every now and then, just like it's a cable network. And you're going to find movies that you've never heard of before and that you wouldn't have watched otherwise. I never would have watched The Green Ray, and I loved that. I never, ever, ever would have seen A Question of Silence, and I think that movie is definitely something special. So ultimately, I'm happy I did this. I wouldn't do it again, but I will do other movie marathons. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more 24-hour movie marathons in the future on this channel. And let me know if you've seen any of these 16 movies and what you thought of them. I would love to engage in discussions with you all about any of these movies. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Until the next time, I will see you at the movies.